This is the second video for Outlook 2010. In the first video, we looked at setting up Outlook, all the options associated with it, and signatures. So let's get going with actually creating messages and contacts and calendars in this video. First, I want to just go ahead and remove this My tab because it's kind of interfering sometimes. I'm going to go to File, Options, Customize ribbon, and I'm just going to remove the check mark from the My tab that I had created using the new tab and the new group. Click OK. So now it's gone. Okay. Just wanted to briefly talk about that this is my inbox right here. All the messages that you send will be listed in the sent items, and the ones you delete will be in the deleted items. And there are drafts options where all your draft that you saved are there, so you can double click on it and start working on it again. And you can also view your messages by different criteria. You can list them by from the person, so it will be alphabetical order. In the home, there is also a filter option that you can filter quickly to files which have attachments. So you were looking for something which had attachment, the this week files or today files. You can even start categorizing the email messages with colors, and you can also filter by importance and by flagged. So the idea is that I can click on a message, I can click the categorize button, and I can choose a certain category. So it will have that category. So if I filter by a category and I choose that, I will only get that message, and I can close the search, or any messages that have that. Or if I click on this follow up button, follow up means that you will get a reminder letting you know that you need to follow up with this person. So I can say follow up tomorrow, next week, or I can even do a custom, and I can type the follow-up reason, and I can say what is the start date for this follow-up, what is the due date for this follow-up, and do you want the reminder. So I can even set a reminder at what time, and I can click OK. So there is the flag added to it. Now I can filter by the flagged. It should have found it. I don't know why it's not finding it. I'll look at this again. Oh, I think it was just trying to find it, was taking its time. Right, there it is. For some reason it took its time. I can close it. So these are some nice little options that you can use. You can even click on a message and make it unread, as if you haven't read this message, and you can read it. You can highlight a whole bunch of messages and you can click unread so that they don't keep showing up as if you haven't read the message. Alright, so let's look at how to create new messages, which is simple. You click on the new mail. Now if you do come up in this window like this, when you click here, it shows up in this option. Just click on inbox if you wanted to see your inbox. Now I click on new, and I can start writing an email to the person. So I can write the name of the person, email address, and I can put the subject. Now I can start typing the person's name and the message. I can attach a file. I can even attach an item, that is a calendar item or a business card. And I can even change the email signature to something else. If I have created more than one, the default one will show up, but I can change it to something else. And I can also set this message a high importance. Now you got to be careful that you don't do it for everything, otherwise the other person will stop losing interest in your important emails. And you can even set a follow-up as you are sending the message, so you will have a reminder telling you whether that you need to follow up with this person for some reason. Now before I show you some more things, I want to go ahead and add some contacts, and I want to tell you a little bit more about this. I'm going to close this and say no. If you want to create a contact, you can just click here in the new items and then click on contact, or just click on the word section contacts Now you get the new contact button automatically. So I'm just going to click it because I want to create a new, and I'm just going to start typing some names, and you see the file as option shows up, and you can choose to file it a different way, and I can put their email address. Now you can keep on adding a whole bunch of things. You can add their notes, and there's also an option to add a calendar. For some reason my window is not being shown. Not the calendar, the mailing address there. You can put it out in the bottom. And I always like to leave notes because when I meet people, I sometimes don't remember where I met them, so I try to leave notes about them. Now, if this is a work setting, a lot of your contacts will be automatically rated. You may just have to add your personal ones, and if you wanted to, you could make it private, so that if your contacts was like a public contacts for the whole company, you can leave this as a private one. Now here you can even add pictures of those people. I can click save and close, or I can just click save and new so that I go to a new one, and I'll just make up another thing. Okay. And I can hit save and close. Now those contacts are created. Now I can choose to see these contacts under as discard option, phone list option, or just a regular list option. And then I can look at them by their sorted by name or titles if I had been filling up all this information, and departments. So you can filter and find information. You can just search for it up here on the top, or if I wanted, I can just go back to business card so I can see it the big way. And I can even right click on it and I can delete it, or you can hit delete on the keyboard by clicking on it one time. If you double click on it, you can go back to editing it, and you'll find that there are lots of options here. You can go to details where you can add their departments. At least hopefully in the work setting they would have done this for you, so you may not have to do for all this information. You can even right click on it and you can forward the contact as a business card. So what it will do is it will attach this contact information and attach that as a business card, and you can send it to somebody. And you might get a question about that, to sending something as a business card. So this is one way of doing it. I'll show you another way of doing it too. I don't want to save it. So this is contacts. Now what I want to do is I want to create group contacts. What previously it used to be called distribution list, now they call it new contact group. I click it. So groups are, when you want to send it to emails to like 5-10 people, the same people at all the time, you can create a group, so then you don't have to type their email addresses. So I click new group contact and I'll just call it ABC group. Once I give it a name, now I can start adding members. Now if I have already typed some names, I can choose from Outlook contacts, and I can choose that name, add it, Lisa. If I don't want it, that's fine. I click OK. And if I want to add members who are not part of my contact list, I can click on new email contact. And now I can start typing the names and their email address. And also you can choose to add this person to the contact list so that you don't have to do it 2 times. I click OK. They are added to this. I can go back, add a new email contact. And I can click OK. You can always remove members if you wanted to remove somebody. You can leave notes. I can hit save and close, and there is the group. And you see it says on the bottom group. So if I want to edit, I can double click on it. I'm back into here. Okay. So let's come back to mail and we'll click on new. Now if I wanted to send it to Lisa, so there it is, the name shows up as I start typing. In the CC, if I want to send it to the group, so I called it ABC. So you see it starts to auto-populate, so I just have to choose it, and there is the plus sign there which tells me there are more than one person listed. Now if you don't see your BCC, Sometimes you don't. You can go to options and you can choose BCC under options. So BCC is added. And you may be familiar with BCC means whatever email addresses are listed here. Lisa, so if I put Amir, say my email address, Lisa and the people who are part of the ABC group, which is David and all the other people, will not know that I also got a copy of this email. So that's the idea of BCC, which is blind carbon copy. And you could always click on the to button, and now from this you can also choose where you want it. So I can click on a name and I can put it part of BCC or CC. So just choose the names and you can click where do you want them to be. Okay, so that's all we have to do to choose people who should be getting it, and I can put a subject and then I can start typing my messages here. You can also insert files. You can also attach a business card, whichever you want, or other business card, and you can choose that person's name and click OK, and it will be added as a business card. And I mentioned about signatures and high importance. You can also you can do formatting, all the common things we do in Microsoft Word, which are available here, bold, sizes, all these options are available. You can go to insert and you can insert tables, pictures. I don't know why some people may have a need for it, so they've just added this functionality here. You can even add a hyperlink to something. So if I had like a website or something, I can make it hyperlink. To do that, I can insert date and times and symbols and equations. And there's also an option called format text here, where you just get more option to format. You see by default it is HTML. You can set it to plain text. It means there will be no formatting in this particular email message, and you will not be able to do it because you've chosen plain text. Under review, there is the option you can start the spelling and grammar check. You can do the word counts to see how many words have you typed. And I want to come to this options, where there are some important buttons that we need to use. So the first thing I want to tell you about this delivery receipt. So if you put a check mark in here, that person who receives this email will, when the server receives that message, you'll get a return message saying that the server's received the message. And if you put a check mark for request a read receipt, it means as soon as the person opens the email, the person will get an option to send you a read receipt saying, so you'll come to know that they've read your email. You can also delay the delivery of a message. So you can say that, you know what, do not deliver before a certain date and a time. So you can choose to send it later. So you can do some work on the weekend and you can say that this message shouldn't go out till 11 o'clock Monday morning. So you can say do not deliver before that time. There is also an option for permissions. I haven't looked into it, so you can point to it and read it. What it does is I can put a permission that do not forward. Now this will only work if your company is set up with Microsoft Exchange and with some settings that will be needed. I haven't had a chance to look at it, but it's a pretty good feature, and only it may have certain restrictions about how well it will work. And the last thing in the options I want to talk about is the voting options. You can say in the subject of this message, I can say, alright, we are planning to have a get-together or a party for this person, and these are the dates. Please accept or reject it. So you can choose, or it just might be a yes or a no or a maybe. But you can create customs. So if I click custom, and now in here, instead of this, say I wanted to put some dates there. So I could just put 03 dash say 30-2013, and then make sure you put the semicolons, otherwise this will not work. 03-31-2013 colon semicolon 03 dash 04-01-2013. So I'm trying to put 3 different dates in there, and I click close. Okay, I'm just going to remove this and I'm going to put my own email address so I'll get to see that. So I'm trying to send it to myself because these email addresses, I don't think so they exist. So I'm put a subject here. Okay, and I'm going to hit send. Now the message is being sent and I'll hit the send receive button there. And let's see. And I'm just going to check my send. It's still sitting in this outbox. I'm not sure why that outbox is still sitting there. I'm just going to right click and delete it. And I just resend. I created from scratch and that message came up. You see it says vote on dates and I've double click on it and there's the vote option. And if I choose a vote and it's asking me send the response, you want to edit the response, I can say OK and I'll close this. Let's hit send and receive. And now you see I've got the message saying that somebody has voted. So this is a good feature and you will most probably get a question about this. So it's under new email message, under options, and you're choosing to add voting buttons. So this is all about sending messages and also creating contacts. Now let's look at some organization features that you can do by creating folders within Outlook. So if I click on this message, I can hit delete here, hit delete on the keyboard, or right click and choose delete. So many different ways. And when I do that, the deleted items folder is where the message goes. Now if I want to remove it from here completely, I can right click on it and then choose to empty. And I say yes. Now my setting for my email is that when I remove it from here, now when I sync it, it's going to remove it from my email server. And I can come back to inbox. You can create new folders if you wanted to. It's always good to do that to maybe organize your work nicely. So first thing, let's look at the folder tab. Within the folder, there's a button called new folder. You click it and you can give it a name. So I can call it ABC or whatever you want to call it. Now you can choose whether this folder should be part of inbox, so it will be a subfolder within inbox. If you want it in line with these other items, then you choose this main option. So it will put the ABC around here somewhere. If you choose inbox, it will put it right underneath inbox. And you can also choose what is this folder going to contain. Is it mail, or is it contacts or calendars? So just most of the time it's mail, and I'll click OK. And you see ABC button is underneath inbox. I'll create another one. I'll call it test, but this time I'll put it under the test one. At simple tag. I click OK. Now let's see, that folder is right there. And if I want it, I can take any of these messages, left click and hold it, drag it, and drop it on that folder. Now you see ABC has that. I can left click and hold it and drag it back into that inbox. You can also do it when you click on a message right from the home button. You can move it to that folder or to the test folder or to some other folder, and you can click. I can click ABC. Now the message has gone back to ABC. So it's always more than one way of doing things in the computer. I'll come back to inbox. You can even right click on a message and there should be option to move. So if you don't remember anything, even in an exam, nowadays right clicks work in an exam. So you can do right click and there's a good chance you'll find the answers for it. So that is about creating folders from the folder, and you can also delete the folders. And no, that's not the delete option for folders, just for delete all items in this folder. So if I click here and I can delete all the messages in this folder. You can delete the folder from this button and you can rename it. Along with creating folders, you can create what are called search folders. With search folders, what you can say is that with this particular folder, when I click on it, I should be able to see all the unread email. So you can separate that from your inbox. Or I want to see the messages which I've flagged for follow-up. Or I want to see all the messages which have the important feature on it. Or I want to see mail from a specific people. So you can think of it and you'll find different options here. All the mails with attachments. So you'll find that there. So if I click that, I click OK. Now you see I have within search folder, I have a folder with attachments which will automatically search and give me all the email messages with attachments in it because I had attached a picture to it. And this is a definite exam question about creating new search folder which is under folder. Just on a side note, in the first video I showed you where I added holidays of US and Canada. Look on the right hand side, it's showing me Good Friday Canada coming up. Sunday 31st is Easter Day. So all these messages, all these calendar appointments or holidays were added when I was under File Options and I added the holidays. You can look at the first video if you haven't watched it. The last thing that I want to do in this video is about rules. So if I come back to home, there is the rule button here and it says create a rule based on the sender, recipients or conversation topic of this message to always move mail to a different folder. So I can create a rule and say, for example, my manager emails, which are very important, that I can say whenever I get an email from this person, this particular email address, move them to this ABC folder or to the test folder. So I'll be able to get to them as soon as I see them pretty fast. So you click on the rules button and then you can click on create rule. Yeah, I think it might be easier. Well, I'll talk about it here and also show you another way which I like it better. Little complicated the other way, but still better. So I can say when I get an email message from this person, because that email address was clicked on, that's why it's picked it up, and I can say move it to this folder. Click OK. So now it will do that. I want to show you a different way of doing it. So if I click here to rules, click manage rules and alerts, and from here I'm going to click on new rule. You get more details from here. And here you see I can choose these different options. Move messages from someone to a folder. Move messages with specific words in a subject to a folder. So if I choose that, I click next. Now it's asking me with specific words, and I can even click here and add it, or when I hit next it will do that. So if I click here, I can put a specific word like say Outlook, and I click add, and you can add multiple words. Click OK, click next, and it's asking me about specified folder, and I'll say move it to this one. I click OK, and you see there is a lot of different things you can do. You can delete it, permanently delete it, and different things. I can click next, and if there are any exceptions you want to apply, like certain people you don't want it to be, you can do that. Click next, and I can even choose here to say that run this rule on my inbox, so that if you had like thousands of emails already, this will automatically go and group them in a folder, so you do not have to keep doing this. And if I click finish, it's gonna look for it, and I'll hit OK. Now let's see, ABC has the Outlook messages. The other one was already added, I think. The second one showed up with the subject word Outlook in it. So rules are pretty cool feature to arrange, and you can do this with all the incoming messages, so your emails will be organized, and you can go back to rules, manage rules and alerts, and you can go back and change it or even delete it and create new messages. You can click OK. You can get to the same window from File, and there is the Manage Rules and Alerts. So in this video we talked about contacts, new email messages, voting, delivery receipts, and all those important elements when it comes to sending messages and contacts. In the next video we talk about calendars, scheduling, and tasks and notes. Thank you for watching. Quickly to files which have attachments. So you were looking for something which had attachment, the this week files or today files. You can even start categorizing the email messages with colors, and you can also filter by importance and by flagged. So the idea is that I can click on a message, I can click the categorize button, and I can choose a certain category. So it will have that category. So if I filter by a category and I choose that, I will only get that message, and I can close the search or any messages that have that. Or if I click on this follow up button, follow up means that you will get a reminder letting you know that you need to follow up with this person. So I can say follow up tomorrow, next week, or I can even do a custom, and I can type the follow up reason, and I can say what is the start date for this follow up, what is the due date for this follow up, and do you want a reminder. So I can even set a reminder at what time. And this is the second video for Outlook 2010. In the first video we looked at setting up Outlook, all the options associated with it, and signatures. So let's get going with actually creating messages and contacts and calendars in this video. First, I want to just go ahead and remove this My tab because it's kind of interfering sometimes. I'm going to go to File, Options, Customize Ribbon, and I'm just going to remove the check mark from the My tab that I had created using the new tab and the new group. Click OK. So now it's gone. Just wanted to briefly talk about that this is my inbox right here. All the messages that you send will be listed in the sent items, and the ones you delete will be in the deleted items. And there are drafts options where all your draft that you saved are there, so you can double click on it and start working on it again. And you can also view your messages by different criteria. You can list them by from the person, so it will be alphabetical order. In the home, there is also a filter option that you can filter and click OK. So there is the flag added to it. Now I can filter by the flagged. It should have found it. I don't know why it's not finding it. I'll look at this again. Oh, I think it was just trying to find it, was taking its time. Right, there it is. For some reason it took its time. I can close it. So these are some nice little options that you can use. You can even click on a message and make it unread, as if you haven't read this message, and you can read it. You can highlight a